Alright, so here's this week's weekly Witch Queen campaign mission. It's the Communion. I'm doing a solo flawless master run. We've got Unstoppables and barriers. Void shields all over the place. If you remember this mission, there's a lot of Cabal. There's like a pre-boss fight and then there's a boss fight. And they both kind of remind me of Duality. Namely, the Vault encounter. Very similar to that. You can get knocked off map. The room's a little bit bigger, but the ads are out of control. There's tons of them. So it's actually a good boss fight to just kind of practice solo if you get a chance. And I decided to go with Revenant this week. I haven't done any videos at all with Stasis Hunter. I've only done a couple on Behemoth. That's primarily because I've only had Stasis on my Titan, because my Titan is my main for a while, and I haven't grinded out beyond light on my other two characters until recently. I just got Hunter done. Still working on Warlock. So anyway, so I have everything for Hunter, and I've played around with this with some builds on this subclass for Hunter. Doing like the heist battlegrounds at the beginning of the season, some nightmare containment, just messing around, seeing kind of what works with it. I didn't even know what exotics to use or anything really, so like I had a pair of renewal grasps, which enhances your Duskfield grenades, and Revenant Hunter is kind of it's the grenade class for Stasis. Like Warlocks have Void, Chaos Accelerant, they've got Solar, they've got Touch of Flame. Titans have Arc, they've got Touch of Thunder. Revenant has Stasis. I can't even remember what the aspect is called. But basically they get better grenades. And after doing this run a few times with Renewal Grasp, I like the way that you get a nice big crystal in the middle of your Duskfield grenade, but I also noticed after playing around with a different exotic it's Touch of Winter, I think, the aspect for the grenades, but Renewal Grasp shortens the duration of your grenade, of your Duskfield. So even though you get that crystal in the middle, it's not as good for cycling your grenades because the uptime on them is not that great, and you're relying on your Duskfields for ad control. So you want uptime on your Duskfields. So anyway, there's another YouTuber that does solo grandmasters. I'll link him in the description. Multi, I believe he's a Spanish YouTuber, and he does solo dungeons, everything is Stasis. So I highly recommend you, if you're really interested in Stasis playstyle, gameplay, builds, check his stuff out. He leaves dim links in his descriptions, and videos are well time coded and everything. So he does Titan, Warlock, Hunter, everything, and you could really learn a lot if you want to start learning Stasis. Stasis is, I would say, it's the more difficult subclass to use, because you've got the different elements, like the keywords with Stasis. So you've got slow, freeze, you've got shards, and so there's kind of some mechanics to the slowing and the freezing, and it's an ad control, crowd control subclass. It's not ad clear. Unless you're on Behemoth, you can build into ad clear if you're spamming a lot of crystals and supers and increase the size of the burst of stasis crystals, you can do that. But generally speaking, like on Warlock and Hunter, it's usually a crowd controlled type of playstyle and build. So I've found, after watching a lot of this YouTuber's videos on Stasis, there was pretty much consistent use of 4 fragments specifically, and so you've got 5, using the 2 aspects that I'm using, you've got room for 5 fragments. And so what I've learned watching this guy's videos is that it almost always goes with 4, and it's not the intuitive ones that I wanted to use originally, which was like, I'll use all 3 of the fragments that increase my grenade regen, use renewal grasps, use primary ammo does more damage to frozen targets and stasis crystals, and increase the size of burst of stasis crystal. Just do like all out grenades, all out damage. And it was taking me forever to do this mission, and I could not beat the boss fight with the build that I had. And I didn't want to just restart, so I actually tried practicing on the boss fight over and over at the rally flag, and I just couldn't do it. So I went and checked out this guy's videos and learned something new, and I put on the 4 fragments that he pretty much always uses on Warlock and Hunter. So that's Whisper of Chains, Conduction, Durance, and what's the other one? Let me look real quick. Chains. Shards, yeah. Chains, Conduction, Durance, and Shards. So Shards gives you your grenade energy from shattering frozen targets and crystals. Durance increases the slow duration, and I mean, you're using dusk fields literally to slow enemies, and it does freeze them if it builds up enough slow stacks, I guess. But the longer they're slowed for, the more the longer that you're controlling them, and you increase the chance of you getting shards out of that enemy, because if you kill slowed or frozen targets, you get a stasis shard. And I'm using elemental shards, so they act as elemental wells basically, which doesn't just increase the melee energy, because that's the shards just inherently as part of stasis, whether you're using elemental shards like to turn them into wells or not. The shards themselves just give you melee energy. That's it. Whereas elemental wells give you just ability energy in general, so they give you a little bit of everything. So this isn't a melee build. I'm relying on my dusk fields. So I wanted to turn my shards into wells, so that I would also get grenade energy from the shards. And then conduction, Whisper of Conduction, is where the shards track to you, which is just convenient, because you don't want to be going out in the open to pick up a shard, especially when your build isn't very strong on ad clear. It could be a risky play to go out in the open. You have to play your position a little bit more strategically, and throw out your dusk fields, control the ads, hold the position, rotate. So just having the shards come to you is is a really good benefit. And then Whisper of Chains gives you resist I think it's resist times 2, so whatever that is, 50% damage resistance or something, or 40, when you're near frozen targets or stasis crystals. So it's a little bit of everything. You've got your grenade energy, you've got extended slow, you've got seeking shards, and you've basically got extra damage resistance. So a little bit of everything, and then that leaves you one fragment to do something specific. Like, what's your goal with this mission, with your build, with your weapons, etc. So that leads me to my weapons. As you can see, I'm using Revision 0, which I also haven't posted any content using this weapon because I haven't found it that great. But there is a hidden benefit to it. Not that it's really hidden per se, but it's a hack-a breach armament weapon, or it's a hack-a weapon. So it has the origin trait, I believe. Actually, you know what? I didn't check, but all the hack-a weapons have an origin trait that increases the damage done to stasis crystals, and I think frozen targets. I don't know. I gotta check on it, but basically, hack-a synergizes well with stasis. So I figured, okay, well, it's probably going to be doing more damage on frozen targets than most of my other weapons, just because it's a hack-a. I hope I'm not wrong about that, but anyways, it worked. And I also comboed it with Fissures, Whisper of Fissures, I believe, which that's the fragment that got a huge buff at the beginning of this season, because it used to be that only kinetic weapons would do extra damage to frozen targets and stasis crystals. Now, this season, they made it so that any primary ammo weapons do more damage. So, I mean, this would have worked last season well because this is a kinetic exotic, but you could use a void primary weapon. Solar, arc, doesn't matter. But anyway, either way, the fragment increases the damage that you do to frozen targets by a lot. I think it's... I don't think it's more than 40% extra damage. Could be a bit less than that, but it's significant. It's like, you know, it's basically more significant than Phantom Might and Charged with Light. And mind you, you could stack all those together if you really want, but I didn't do that because I found I was able to do enough damage with this weapon anyway. Could be because it's an exotic, could be because it's hack-a, but if a target was frozen, they were basically getting destroyed. And I was thinking it should work pretty well on the barriers because it's got intrinsic anti-barrier. It's got the you can charge up the sniper shots. So if you didn't know how it works, the targeting data on the left side of my screen there builds up to 4 shots. So it's kind of got 4 increments on the meter. And as you do crit damage to enemies, just damage, doesn't have to be kills with critical. It doesn't have to be like precision kills. It's just do critical damage, you know, hit precision shots on anything, and it's going to build up that meter. And once you have at least 1 shot on the meter full, then you can switch over to sniper mode and take your shot. And it does about the same damage as a regular sniper rifle, but it's not consuming special ammo. It's still primary ammo, and it's free. So generally, I wait till I have it charged up to 4. So it's funny, they actually kind of made it a lot like Quicksilver Storm, in the sense that you got to build up You got to charge up the meter, and then, you know, like instead of getting your 3 grenades charged up, you've got 4 sniper shots. And I believe you can put 4th times the charm as a perk under the catalyst. I didn't do that because I didn't really feel like I needed 4th times the charm. Although the mag is pretty small, so it might have been useful. I just went with Outlaw just for quicker reloads. But in retrospect, I think I might end up changing it to 4th times the charm. And you could basically one cycle any champion with 6 shots easily. Even 4 shots is generally good enough. But like if you miss a shot, then if you miss a shot, you're not proccing 4th times the charm anyway. So I don't know. It's a toss-up. 4th times, like I don't see it getting procced all that often. I don't see myself really ever needing 6 sniper shots. Generally, I just like using the gun on the standard burst mode anyway. I'll only switch it to sniper mode like purposefully, because sometimes you can accidentally switch it. Like if you're just going to reload or you're going to like hold an objective, you end up accidentally turn on sniper mode. So like here is a good spot to use it. But the problem with it is, unlike Quicksilver Storm, you can't toggle back to your burst mode. So I don't like that. I don't like being locked into firing all my sniper shots just so that I can get back to burst. I hope that they fix that. You know, I'm not sure if it was intentional to leave it that way or not. But like here I am, I'm in this close quarter room here. I don't need a sniper here. So, you know, I'm just sniping a basic red bar ad just to get rid of my shots. But like there, it would have been convenient to just be able to toggle it back to burst mode. So anyway, so Revision 0 synergizes pretty well with Stasis, and it's not bad, but generally I would probably use something else. But I wanted to give it a try at least, and I do think that Stasis is probably the best subclass to use it with, especially because on Stasis, at least with Hunter and Warlock, your abilities aren't doing your ad clear for you. They're not doing a lot of work as far as killing stuff. You know, it's crowd control, so you're really relying on weaponry. You need good weaponry that synergizes well with the subclass, that's powerful enough, and versatile enough. So like pick your 3 choices wisely. And so as my second weapon here, I went with Wilderflight because I also haven't used that in a video, and I have a couple decent rolls that I got from Spire the Watcher. This one's got auto-loading Vorpal and blinding grenades, and it's void, so it's gonna take care of all the void shields for me. And it was a lot of fun to use this actually, because I haven't normally I just use what I'm comfortable with as far as blinding grenades go, and that is Lingering Dread. It's a quick, snappy grenade launcher with auto-loading holster. You know, I'm used to using it, and but this one is different. So, you know, with Lingering Dread, like I'm basically just firing it to get a blind off. I'm never trying to like kill stuff with it, so I don't need to like hit my target dead on. I just need to get a blinding nade in the general area of, you know, the ads that I want to blind. Well, with Wilderflight, I was kind of trying to do that, but then I realized that the direct impact from the double grenades, because it shoots 2 grenades. I believe it's the only grenade launcher in the game with this archetype that shoots 2 grenades. And they spread out. Like the more range you're shooting it from, you you know, the more your 2 grenades are going to spread out. And so therefore, if you're far away and you're shooting it, you're going to get a wider blind effect. But not only that, I noticed just by playing around with it that whenever I direct impacted enemies with the grenade launcher, they're getting hit by 2 grenades, and it was doing a lot of damage. And then not to mention it's got Vorpal on it, so I could easily chunk away champions with it, and yellow bars and orange bars are pretty much just getting melted. And so I found that the way to use this grenade launcher, yeah, you can use it for your blinds, but pick an enemy that's kind of central to where you want to get your blind off and do hit them directly. You're gonna kill them for sure. Not only that, but if you're shooting it at a void shield and direct impact, you're gonna kill the void shield most likely because you're doing a lot of damage to them. You're breaking their shield, which is making an explosion, and that's doing collateral damage as well. And you're getting a huge blind effect. So you can kind of see it worked pretty well here, where you got a lot of void shields bundled up together. And I can't tell if it blows up the backpacks or not as well. It might, because it was doing a lot of collateral damage. So I was really on the fence with this grenade launcher at first. You know, was wondering if I'd ever really use it. But this is definitely the role I'll be sticking with, unless I get, you know, I don't really care that much about Vorpal. It's nice, and I might end up preferring it in the long run, but I definitely want auto-loading holster and I want blinding. Those are the 2 main perks that I'm dead set on. I don't like using crowd control type grenade launchers without auto-loading, because I don't want to be stuck on the grenade. Like, I don't want to just be stuck on a weapon that's doing constant crowd control. I want to get my blind off and then kill stuff right away. I don't want to sit there and reload the grenade launcher and shoot another shot. You know, like you could just constantly run around blinding stuff, but you're never going to kill anything. So good handling is also, and I think I have a handling masterwork on it. So it's quick to pull out, quick to fire, quick to stow, and then it'll reload. I do actually reload it more than normal in this mission, because there is a lot of void shields and there's a lot of ads. So sometimes it's worthwhile to just reload a few shots and do some good damage, do some good crowd control at the same time. In the final boss room, it comes in handy too, because there's so many ads that even with like constant uptime on your dusk field grenades, you still need, you know, without having grenade spam that can just kill everything in sight, or volatile rounds. You kind of need the blinding along with the stasis, along with the freezing and the slowing. But and so here's another thing that I have to practice too, is one of the reasons I don't really like using stasis is because it's horrible against unstoppables and overloads. So overloads, like, and we have the mod where we can use stasis grenades to stun overload champions. Lord Kelvin's Basilisk, you know, that does, it's void and stasis grenades, so you can use either to take care of overloads this season. But it's broken on stasis. It just doesn't work. Like, yeah, you can stun an overload. You could actually stun lock them. You can keep them stunned, but it heals them at the same time. Like, it's bugged, and apparently it's been bugged since like forever, where anytime you freeze an overload, they just start to heal. So you practically are never able to kill anything. I have a clip on my channel. You can go check it out. It's Lord Kelvin's Basilisk something or other. And you can see me dealing with the 2 overload scoring on Master the Cunning, which is next week, but this was 6 weeks ago, or 7 weeks ago, I guess, when I was trying out Duskfields with Lord Calvin's Basilisk on overloads, the 2 that are together, and 3 minutes I spent constantly throwing Duskfields at them, wasted all my heavy. They're unkillable. So I would not advise using Stasis against overloads ever. And then it's not as bad on Unstoppables. It doesn't heal them, but so you know when you stun an Unstoppable, you have a few seconds, I don't know, 5 seconds, something like that, where you do a lot of damage to them. When they're not, when they come out of their stun, then you know, like, it takes forever to kill an Unstoppable. Like, because you're doing, like, I don't know, 200% less damage when they're not stunned. So you can kill Unstoppables without stunning them, but you have to do it, like, strategically. Like, you could do, like, times 20 Worm's Hunger on Parasite, and, you know, maybe one-shot an Unstoppable with a finisher or something like that. But no, they're super tanky. But so normally with any other anti-champion mod for Unstoppable, when you stun them, you have that time frame where you can do you know, a lot of damage to them. Not the case with Stasis. And you can, this is the same thing, you can use the charged melee to stun Unstoppables. So you can slow them. It won't hurt if you slow them, but if you, the moment an Unstoppable gets frozen, whether they're stunned or not, you can kind of hear their stun like glitch out, or they'll, like, it sounds like they're unstunned and then they restun, and unstunned and restun. But basically what happens is every time they freeze, you lose the damage potential that you do. Like, you can't do stun damage to them. You can stun them as much as you want, but you're never going to do the damage that you need to do. So it's just the same as if they weren't stunned at all. Like, that's the damage that you're doing to them. So if you want to waste all your heavy, don't freeze Unstoppables. And then, so that leads me to my third weapon, which is Fire and Forget. Now, I'll go over the boss fight when we get there, because that's really the only it's the only really challenging part of this mission, and it is pretty challenging, so I'll go over that. But quickly about Fire and Forget. So when I crafted this, I thought, oh, this is great, I can put Chill Clip on a linear. That's unique. I don't have one with Chill Clip. You know, I've got my triple tap Frenzy, or triple tap Focused Fury, Firing Line. I've got auto loading Frenzy on Storm Chaser. I've got Cataclysmic with Bait and Switch 4th times. Box Breathing. I don't have anything with Chill Clip. I don't have a good Stasis linear. I have one Reed's Regret with a Dodgio, so it's not really practical. But I thought it would be unique to do Chill Clip, and then, you know, I thought I could especially use it against barriers, because if you free, so this is the only thing that barriers, or that Stasis is decent against as far as champions, is barriers, because whenever you freeze a barrier, they break out of their shield. But anyway, so I thought a Chill Clip would come in handy there. And it does shatter damage and all that, but so I had enhanced Chill Clip with Field Prep on it, doing this, and like trying to use it against Unstoppables. Well, I kept freezing the Unstoppable, so it wouldn't do any damage. So I'd literally have to spend like 7-8 bursts with my linear to get a Unstoppable down low enough to finish. Like, it was really bad. So I took it off and I just switched to Enhanced Frenzy. I said screw it, and this worked much better. Now I can just kill stuff and not worry about freezing them and healing them or breaking them out of their stun. So, and when it first came out, it had like crazy recoil, visual recoil. So nobody really liked it because it was like 10 times worse than the Storm Chaser. But it's not bad now. They fixed the visual recoil and it's working as intended. So it's pretty good, especially if you're like stacking Charge with Light and high energy fire with Fontamite. You can do some pretty crazy damage with it, even though it's only Frenzy. It doesn't have Firing Line or Focus Fury or anything. It doesn't have Bait and Switch, but Frenzy's still a pretty good damage perk. And regardless, Stasis is one of the easier classes to get Fontamite because you're producing a lot of shards. You can produce shards just by popping your super, so it's good for raids and stuff like that too. But yeah, so and then as far as the exotic goes, I'm using Wormhusk Crown now for the health and shield bump every time you dodge, and that saved me a number of times, because even with the damage resist mods that you got, and I don't have good recovery on my stats, without infusing a whole bunch of my armor and stuff, and I didn't want to do that, so I've just got triple 100s for mobility, discipline, and resilience, which was okay. I like having high mobility, and high mobility works well with Wormhusk Crown. Like, intuitively, if the exotic gives you bonuses for dodging, then you want to be able to dodge more. And if it's saving your life when you dodge, then you want your dodge constantly. So yeah, and then so as far as this boss fight goes, you got, I think I took out the two champions. So Valus Darlgur, as soon as he comes out, when you do about half of his first third of his health bar, you're gonna get, pay attention to the text on your screen when it says unstoppable, but it's about halfway through his first third of health, you're gonna get an unstoppable. He comes out of the ship in the middle. So I've been trying to learn this too when I was practicing. When do the champions spawn? How many are there? Where do they spawn? And what's the trigger? So the trigger is the boss's health. And then they spawn in different spots. The first one, the unstoppable, comes out of the ship in the middle. Barrier comes out of either the far right door or the far left door. Can't remember which. But you're going to have an unstop and a barrier in the first health bar. If you can't, first, before you get Darlgur down to that point where he triggers champions to come, you want to try and get rid of as many ads as you can. You want to constantly get rid of all the ads before you chunk the boss's health down too much and spawn the champions, because you're going to get a whole wave of ads along with the champions, and the ads get progressively more numerous. Okay, so there's the second unstoppable. So anyway, so basically run around the map, do circles, don't get yourself trapped in a corner where the ads are flanking you on both sides. You want to keep the ads rotating in the same way as you chasing you. So if you stay stationary too long, you'll find that you're going to get pinched on either side. So if there's a lot of ads, try and do clockwise or counterclockwise rotation around the outside of the map. taking stuff out as you go. Blind stuff, throw your grenades, use your dodge, just try and stay alive. I'm using Strike and Light, by the way, on my combat mods. That is really the only combat mod that I'm using. You know, aside from weak and clear. So I get 15% damage from weakening. But yeah, so Striking Light is actually giving me damage resistance while I'm sprinting. So I just check every now and then, make sure I'm charged with light. And I didn't want to run high energy fire along with it because you kill two things and then you lose your stacks of charge with light, and then you don't have your damage resistance while you're sprinting. I just want to get my stacks and hold on to them the whole time as much as possible. That way I know I've always got that damage resistance while sprinting. You don't really need all the extra damage mods, even though it would be nice to pair like Font of Might and High Energy Fire with Fire and Forget. You don't need that much damage. I'm at power. This is master content. It's not Grandmaster. Even doing it solo, you know, like it's enough damage. Only need is a very good heavy weapon to use. If I was using like a grenade launcher or something, if I was using something that was really bad, then I would probably need to supplement it. But anyway, so once you take out the champion, you take out the ads, you take out the champions, then all you got to do is get the boss down to, you just got to get him immune. You can get him immune, you know, before killing the champions and the ads. You could just kind of nuke him real quick, and then he's not quite as aggressive. He starts shooting the statue in the middle there when he shields up. So you don't have to worry about him also shooting you while you're trying to take care of ads and champions. So you could do that. It'd be actually a pretty good strategy if you have enough damage output that you can do real quick. You know, once you know you're ready for all those champions and all the ads, go ahead, you can nuke the boss. If not, you just gotta play all that more carefully with your rotations. And then once you kill all the ads and the champions, then you go around, you disable the jammers, little satellites, there's 3 of them. As soon as you disable him, his shield comes down, you can damage him again, and you're gonna get basically the same sequence. Like, you damage him a little bit, you get an initial wave of ads, right, and then you damage him about halfway, and then you get the unstoppable. And then you get a few more waves of ads, and yeah, so you get them to shield up again, you go around, disable the jammers again, but you can see here the ads get really aggressive. And then on his very last health bar, you're gonna get 1 barrier. So first third of health, you get an unstoppable and you get a barrier. Second, you get an unstoppable. Last phase, you get a barrier. As far as I know, I wasn't sure on it before I went into this, but I was paying close attention to when a champion was appearing, you know, the text on the left side of your screen. And yeah, I guess just 1 for the second and third. So like if you do this in a team, you know, if you've done this in a team for all your pinnacles every week, you know, throughout this year of Witch Queen, then usually, in my experience, doing this with a team is just a recipe for not getting platinum ever, because the boss is pretty easy to just nuke. So if you see his shield come down, like, obviously, you know, everybody in the team just wants to outright kill the boss, you know. But they didn't realize that there was still a barrier running around, like a barrier spawned in a far corner, came out the door, Nobody paid attention. They killed the boss. The barrier despawned. They didn't get platinum rewards. Maybe they didn't get their ascendant alloy, and then, you know, all the good stuff. So if you want to get platinum, then pay attention to the champions and make sure you kill them. Because I obviously could have got this done in better time if I just said screw the barrier, I'm just going to melt the boss and be done. But I'm purposefully not killing the boss here because I want to get platinum. And I almost killed myself here by overcommitting to damage to the barrier. And then I realized I had to give up. Don't overcommit, especially in the second and third phases of this boss. You just want to keep rotating. Don't get still for too long. It doesn't matter if you're about to kill a champion, or if you don't want to waste your ammo on a barrier. I get it. You don't want to have them shield up and regen their health. It's super annoying, but it's a lot more annoying to redo this whole mission, or even restart the fight, like the boss fight. If you're doing this solo and you're just, you don't care about flawless, you still got to restart at the beginning of this boss fight. And it's a fairly long boss fight if you're going for platinum. So it's really just about patience. It's a lot similar to Lightblade. The boss isn't nearly as threatening as alot, obviously, and there's not as many champions. But the ads are super threatening. They basically make up for like what the champions in the Lucent Hive are doing in Lightblade, as far as threat goes. And it's kind of a circular rotation. So yeah, any boss fight where you've got to do a lot of map rotation, striking light is a good play. Here's the nice thing about freezing barriers. I didn't even have to use a barrier weapon on him at all. One dusk field and a couple fire and forget shots. So there we have it. Anyway, I'm going to be doing the corrupted. I'm going to try to do it tomorrow because I have a build that I put together that I can only really do tomorrow because of the modifier, where I can nuke Sadia before she teleports to the other world. And so kind of a quick, easy way to do corrupted, and just nuke her. Don't let her transport. But anyway, I'll have that hopefully up this weekend. Fingers crossed. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.